For centuries, Faroese society has been based upon boats and fishing. This island community of 45,000 people in the North Atlantic have created a nation founded on the sea and its riches. "95% of our exports are made up of fish, fish products, or equipment related to the fishing industry. It has been important to be able to produce our own boats and run our own factories. This state of affairs will continue for many years to come, even if within a short time, from an historical perspective, oil is found around the islands. Obviously, we have dispensed with those things which we have felt to be unnecessary, seen from this one-sided industrial viewpoint. This has left us with the essence, the best, because everything else has been removed. With this experience, we are able to present what might be called a package solution. Everything from A to Z that is related to a modern fishing industry, with the necessary advanced infrastructure, such as harbours, tunnels, roads and bridges, not forgetting the necessary backup that is ready day and night to come to our aid if technical problems occur. In the Faroes, we need only 4 types of boats, and each type could in fact be the same model. We have quite simply no need for more types. It is perhaps worth mentioning that over the past century, we have tested probably more than 100 different types of boats in an attempt to find the right one. There seems, therefore, no good reason why others should have to go through the same process, especially as many of them, as can be expected, prove to be unsuccessful or unusable. How could we have known in advance what would be right to do in every area concerning a modern fishing industry and modern infrastructure? For centuries, we were one of the poorest nations on earth. Over a very short time, we became one of its richest, something achieved by taking everything now. We quite simply knew no moderation. now arrived at the situation where we do not have the financial capacity to renew our fishing fleet. However, it would please us if the experience and knowledge that we have could be used by others to develop their industry, so that they may benefit from our errors. This would be a great step forward in global terms if a carefully reasoned, planned and well-constructed fishing industry were tailor-made for the resources that are available and which had the respect for the laws and balance of the natural world that is essential. Until only very recently, the Faroese lived an existence that was closely linked to the natural world, where the rules of nature were adhered to. This meant fishing and sheep and cattle farming on the meagre pastures of the islands. The birds also provided us with food. Our clothes were made up of the wool from our sheep to protect us from the wind, rain, and even the sun. Many societies had similar forms of life in the past, but our modern industrialized world has too often ignored the restrictions that nature places upon us. It is important that we return to an understanding of those demands in order to continue to profitably make use of nature's resources. This is part of our reason for presenting this film, not to say how things should be done, but to explain the mistakes we have made, how we in fact managed to halve our fish stocks over only 4 years because we forgot those very laws of nature. With our own expensive and serious mistakes in mind, our main desire is to explain to you how we would now go about organising a fishing fleet if we were to get the opportunity today. In other words, just the opportunity that may be yours. Firstly, in order to obtain the most out of our stocks, we would ensure that no boats were able to fish close to shore, as this destroys young fish. Secondly, we would not allow trawlers on the fishing banks. Thirdly, we would allow the fish to grow and develop out on the banks so they can achieve the optimum size and therefore value. And fourthly, we would no doubt attempt to put a fleet together that would earn the most money per kilo of fish. If we imagine a restructuring of the Faroese fleet being possible now, with a TAC of 100,000 tonnes, we would build no more than 10 deep-water trawlers. These would be kept away from even the edges of the fishing banks, and only allowed to fish in deep water, where trawling appears to be the only way to get at the stocks there. After discussions which have lasted decades, but especially after allowing large trawlers onto our fishing banks, there is now a general consensus that were we to have the resources, we would build about 25 modern line fishing boats, such as this one here. They would be used in husbandry of the fish stocks on the edges of the banks in order to catch the fish that had achieved the right weight and size. We would also build 70 of these, in our opinion, ecologically correct boats. This small craft would be allowed to fish on the banks themselves, though only within certain restricted areas and at a certain distance from land. Finally, we would build 145 Arwe boats to fish between two set fishing limits from land. If we return to our postulated TAC of 100,000 tonnes, we would obtain the following. 10 deep-water trawlers, each with a crew of 6 plus 12 men, gives a total of 180 jobs. These would fish a total of 20,000 tonnes. "25 full Tikvan, each with a crew of 6 plus 13 men, gives a total of 450 jobs. These would fish a total of 25,000 tonnes. 70 combined craft, each with a crew of 3 plus 6 men, gives a total of 630 jobs. These would fish a total of 35,000 tonnes. "145 Arwe 33 boats, each with a crew of 2 plus 4 men, gives a total of 870 jobs. These would fish a total of 20,300 tonnes. In all, this gives 2,130 jobs directly linked to the fishing fleet, 1,145 men at sea and 685 acting as replacement crew. Since the relationship between jobs at sea and jobs on land is 1 to 9, total employment in the fishing industry and related activities will be 15,135 jobs, 2,130 at sea and around 13,000 on land. The annual catch will be around 100,300 tonnes. In order to maintain 2,130 jobs in the primary industry, an adjustment of both working hours and taxation for those at sea will be necessary, so that the net income of people working on board is the equivalent of that of a full-time worker on land. The investment costs involved in building up a fleet composed of either selective fishing boats or large bulk fishing vessels are very much the same, at around $300 million US. That therefore cannot be used as an argument for our recommendation that selective vessels should be employed. However, there are other, more weighty arguments. Even though total catches of fish worldwide have fallen drastically, and fishing as an industry and industrial base for some countries has become history, and despite the fact that there is much from a historical point of view that suggests trawling has had a negative environmental effect, there is no scientific proof that these things are linked. If, after continued trawling, the Earth's fish resources totally disappear, we would still be unable to scientifically show that trawling was the cause of this. Our decision makers must therefore look elsewhere than science when drawing their conclusions. Perhaps we should rather turn the question towards marine biologists and ask them if they can with certainty say that continued trawling presents no threat to the fish stocks. Would the logical answer not be that the seafloor, the fish and coming generations should be given the benefit of the doubt, and risky fishing methods therefore be stopped? The world's population and its demand for both food and work are continually on the increase. Only around 20% of total capital and running expenses go towards jobs in a trawling fleet. Selective fishing would double that amount. twice as many people with the same purchasing power as those in the fishing industry today is an attractive proposition for any society that is totally or even partially dependent on fishing. Selective fishing also fulfills the necessity for the raising of catch quality and therefore income. A move to this alternative selective fishing will bring with it increased profitability, more employment, and remove the present threat to the environment and the sea's fish stocks. So why not?